Hi everyone, welcome to day one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Ah, so I don't hear any music. Um, you forgot. Right, we're gonna have you have your video on, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. So we're going to start with some body movement. I invite all of you to stand up with me.
Okay.
Hope all of you can see me. All you have to do is raise your hands up and try to push the can. Sorry, try to reach it. High. As high as you can. Or like push up. One more time. Or like push up. Okay. I'm gonna try it and lift it. Alright. Lifting it, good, and straight. We are going to start also and trying to reach your left arm. Come back to the previous position. Go to the other. Come back and go to the other side. Okay, right. Okay. Now, cannot straight.
Maybe if you can reduce the volume of the song, then we can hear you better. You guys can keep moving. You don't have to wait for Medini instructions, okay?
Is this better?
Yes. Oh, now
Is
it's
it
really
low?
low. It's really bit higher. Okay. Okay, this is fine. Okay, you have your last movement. The song is pretty much finishing.
Okay. All you have to do is just raise your feet as much as you can and pass on one leg. And while you do that, take your arm swing as naturally as they are.
Okay. So, natural arm swing with a knee raise, everyone. Razia, we need to have you on video, my love.
Alright. If you feel comfortable, we can come back. Take.
Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, we are here together again. Okay, and let's make this worth it. Okay. So what is today? Today is day one. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okie dokie. So this is our first workshop. And how are you all feeling about being on your day one? Now, what I do want from all of you is moving forward. You can unmute, you need to speak, you need to ask questions. There is no question that is stupid. If you didn't understand, please put it in the chat. Sometimes if I'm in a teaching segment or a sharing segment, I may not take your question at that point, but I'll definitely answer it at the end. Okay. And if you raise your hand for a question, and if I happen to lower your hand, it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring you. It just means that, okay, I'm not taking your question now, put it in the chat. Okay, so raise your hands. And when I put it down, please don't feel embarrassed about it, or don't feel like, oh my God, Nondi. Okay, it's not a Nondi thing. It's not that you look like a dodu for having put your hand up. Okay, and then I put it down. It's just that, okay, now I know, like, okay, I remember that Hikma raised her hand. She must be having a question, right? So it gives me a cue to also check. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. Great. So we are at day 1. We're going to have a fantastic day. And what we did in our previous workshop, and this is the responsibility of my lovely ladies in the hijab and Senuri and Metini. The previous workshop, when it was time for prayer, right, we did take a 5-10 minute break. Okay, you all need to cue me, because when I'm in teaching segment, I'm always so excited about everything psychology, I forget everything about breaks. Okay, which is not a good thing. I'm working on it, but I'm asking you for your help to say, ma'am, where is the break? We need to go pray. Can we take the break now? But don't tell me when you have to go pray. Tell me 5 minutes before, like it's 5 minutes to prayer time. Okay.
Okay.
That's what we did in the previous thing, a previous workshop. Okay, so the outline for week 1 and for day 1 is this. We're going to get into something called intake interview. We're going to look at counseling skills, and we're also going to do the 5 P's. Now, those of you who were there for the open day, great news, because there is going to be some repeat. Okay. Now, intake interview versus a discovery call. All right, you are going to be given this for you to, you'll have the presentation and the slides. Medini, could you take a screenshot and put it on the poster group? Because now I'm going to put you guys in a breakout room. So we already start with our first breakout room activity. Okay, we'll put you in a breakout room for about 5 minutes. Okay, and this is how the breakout room will go. The breakout room structure is, if you have a 5-minute one, remember that 1 minute is for internet and whatever other issues, joining stuff. 2 minutes is for each person to share. So if I give like a 7-minute breakout room, 1 minute for connection and all that, 3 minutes for each person. If I give an 8-minute one, 1 minute for this thing, 3.5 minutes each person. Okay. All right. So let me put you all in the breakout room. Once I get this guy over here. Okay. Okay, you girls are back. You ladies are back. Now, what do we have? So I invite Senuri. Please go ahead and, just share your thoughts or what you all discussed in your group. Okay. When I call out the name, don't think that there is pressure for you all to get any answers right or wrong or whatever. Okay. Go ahead.
Both of us didn't have like any idea about that. So we guessed that intake interview is something like before the first session, where the counselor and the client have a little chat. And we guess that discovery call is the first session. That's it.
Right. Wonderful. Razia, what about you?
So discovery call is done first, where the HS come to seek for help and take an appointment. And in the discovery call, as an assistant or the one who pick up the call can gather certain information like their mental health history and are they on medication, and maybe fill a form to know about them. Then in the intake interview is where the counselor and the help seeker meet for professional help to understand the main purpose HS struggles, challenges, and to work in that. So the similarities could be in both the sessions. There are you build a rapport, build a good relationship first, but in the intake interview, you deeply understand the issue and maintain transparency, confidentiality. It's that is the part where these things happen. So that's
Hmm.
what I understood from both.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Medini, you all want to add, or Hikma, you want to add?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Medini, anything?
Then were not therapy sessions?
Okay. All
Just to
right.
get.
All right. Great work. Okay. So now what I want, not what I want. I don't know why am I saying what I want. So now an intake interview. All right. A discovery call. Yes, like you already did say, that's something that happens initially. There can be two layers to a discovery call, right? Maybe you're having your, what I call it is I call it an initial intake call, ICC. Okay. And my practice, so it'll be like, oh, ma'am, there's a new person. Shall I book the ICC? Okay. Or I'll be like, Medini, this is a phone number. Could you please schedule an ICC for this person? So that is the equivalent at my practice for a discovery call. One. Then the second thing is, yeah, in a discovery call, you're just having a conversation. Okay, just a regular conversation about, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? What can I help you with? And then the purpose of a discovery call is actually, this is what I do all the time. Okay, you're free to do it. Some counselors, psychologists don't do it at all. They just be like, okay, book the session. I do this mainly because I want the HS to know what they're going to get for the most part. Like, this is a personality for the most part. This is your first impression. You're working with this person. Maybe they even get the wrong impression of me, but that's okay. That's all right. You get the wrong impression because even though we schedule 20 minutes, it's roughly 20 minutes. Sometimes it goes up to 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm very bad at keeping time anyway when I have these calls. Because when I listen, I go like, oh my God, okay, this has happened. How can I shift things in my schedule while the call is happening? I would like, postpone something or message something. I can't remember the number of times I've told Medini, okay, this is going overtime. Can you please message the next ICC and say we're going to be late? And even from the first late time, a second late time. That's not good practice. Just I'm putting it out there for you. Don't do this. If it is 20, 30 minutes, stick to it. Because it's not fair by the other person who's waiting on the call to connect with you for a delay. They're also making their schedules, right? They're also shifting their schedules. And being compassionate is a great thing, but then the compassion is causing issues not just for myself, for the next person. It's adding an added task for Medini. So that's not really good practice. Okay, so this is what you don't. Now, in the discovery call, I always tell the person, look, this first call is for me, for you to get a sense of who I am. Okay. Did you feel safe? Did you feel heard? Did you feel validated? I have a bunch of criteria that I tell them, like, you look at this criteria. If you felt any of those things and you're feeling positive about the call, then please message Medini and she will take you through scheduling a session. The next thing I do on the call is I assess to see if this issue is within the scope of my skills. What if I can't work with that? Okay, so then I don't work with it. I will say, hey, I hear you. This is what I've understood from your situation. Let me look for someone for you. Does that make sense? Is that clear? So that's what usually happens in a discovery call where we're getting a sense or a temperature of like, okay, do we vibe? And it's not only whether it's in the scope of my skills. Please to understand that sometimes you might, on the first call, you feel like, geez, I don't want to work with this person. Some people can have that vibe, and that's okay if you feel it. You have to acknowledge it. Don't force yourself to be like, well, that's not nice of me to not want to work with them. What kind of a clinician am I? That you're human first before any of these labels, before any profession. So you have to acknowledge your baseline. Okay. Later, maybe you will cultivate skills to work with persons of that nature or caliber. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
when you say no, you're not saying there's this what the Sinhala term that I've heard that is වාතයක් charter case. අපෝ මට බෑ එයාත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න. Or like I think in Tamil I have heard I forget the word, but it will come to me. So if you notice that language happening in your mind, you have a lot of work to do with where you need to learn to channel your judgments. Don't label a person as, chartered vatya. If this charter vatya person is coming to you, they're coming to you because maybe this is what they're trying to work on. Acknowledge that the moment you have that, you okay, if you're having this going on in your head, it's likely you don't have the skills to cope with it. So instead of looking inward, you put it on that person. That person is problematic, so I don't want to work with them. Okay? There was only one time in my practice, actually second time, this year was another time, where we had a call. Actually, I talked to you about this year. There's an HS who called in. This person was booking a session for her spouse because of abuse, because of like a very difficult time in the relationship. And the spouse was very abusive. She was done. She's done with the person. And she's like, okay, let me give this as a last shot. Let me give couples therapy a last shot. Okay, so she called to schedule. The husband is, according to him, very busy person. So, okay, everyone is busy. Everyone's time is important. Okay, everyone's time is important. Sometimes I draw that line. Even though it's early, I draw that line. Because when I work with someone, if they're coming from the attitude of their time is more important, I worry about the people I work with in my team. Because then my Medini knows every time she says, well, this person hung up or that person hung up or they said this, I'm like, were they rude? Okay. That's my own thing. I just go, were they rude? Because immediately I want to draw boundaries. I don't believe in working part of a practice to the extent where you abuse your mental health by trying to take care of an HS. If you're in the front desk, if you're handling things such as, what Medini also does. Because certain people, it's just true. Like, okay, if a clinician gets more respect than the person who coordinates sometimes. Right? And for me, it's just through the system that I have established, somehow we get equal respect. Would I be wrong in saying that, Medini? Yeah, so no, no, okay. So you'll see all of this is coming, a sense is coming from the discovery call. Right? So discovery call is not just a bunch of like, oh, can I do this? Can I not do this? But there's a lot that goes in there. So you have to be really present at your discovery call. Yes, after like many discovery calls, you might be able to, send message to Medini or whoever else you're working with, like, hey, there's somebody like this. I'm speaking to them right now. This is the summary that I have. Are you willing to work with them? And you might, on the discovery call itself, be able to give them the response, right? But if you're not used to doing a discovery call, don't do multitasking. That's the worst possible thing that you can do because you will lose the HS. Because, what? I'm sorry, can you tell me again? They're going to be like, oh, I cannot work with this person. So you are causing issues for yourself. Okay. So now, just to give an example, this person who said that, their time was more important and all of that long story, eventually, actually, there was, yes, a mess up on our side with the scheduling thing. Okay. But then when we investigated it, actually there was no mess up on our side for the last schedule. And they spoke to the previous person who was handling that situation. The HS who was supposed to come in actually called her a bitch and said a lot of other unpleasant things to her. Okay. Immediately, once I found out it was past hours, I sent an audio note. I said, thank you for reaching out. I don't think this is going to work out. You don't get to treat people like that at the practice. We'll look for someone else for you. There are two reasons I do that. One, it's my own personal thing. I really don't like it. I really don't like it. That's my own issue that I have to work on, which I'm aware, but I don't like it. The second thing is when they come for sessions, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder where they're going to always say, oh, you know what? When I read a book with blah, 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 this is what happened. This is what's happening. What's wrong? They're going to hold that, carry it. If they're coming with the intensity of trauma that this person was coming in and the importance he was giving himself, the first few sessions will be more difficult, less difficult for me, but more difficult for my team to work through. It's just unnecessary stress. And I'm like, no, we're a small team, we're a small clinic. I don't want to have any of these things going on. We have enough on our plates already. Does that make sense? Bigger, larger practices might take it on, no problem. Because everything is digitized. Okay. And they might have a few other different people who are, more okay with this kind of a situation. Previously, I had started therapy the first time. I had started therapy with a person who was openly racist towards Muslims. I come from an Islamic background. Okay. But because she didn't have another clinical psychologist to work with, she's like, I'll work with you. She eventually ended up liking working with me, but I stopped sessions with her on my part because she was very abusive she was actually harassing the previous person. It was like 4 persons before me, really. It was really bad to the point that, this every time the phone rang, this girl would be like, I don't know. She's usually a very hard, tough mind. She's got like a helmet on her emotions and everything. She just was like, this is too much. And additionally, she was a very helpful person to her. She did stuff outside of session. She brought this woman printouts to her doorstep just to help her. Okay, she treated her really, really well. And so, of course, even though she didn't do it out of expectation, she didn't expect the person to be so harassing, right? Then I told her, look, what you're doing is borderline harassing on this person. I'm sorry, I cannot move forward. And she said, just hold, I sent you money, hold, blah, blah, blah. I will tell you when I want to start session. But then she started, being really difficult she would put all that flame on her, not on me. Okay. I didn't get any heat. I said, look, this is not going to work. Okay. Because I don't want to spend my sessions with her telling me how my practice should be run. It's not even feedback. Okay. It's not things that you can do. So we refunded, I think, 6 sessions of hers, gave all of it back and said, thank you. No, we're not going to do this. Okay, so this all happens, will help you also with discovery call. You get that sense, and please be transparent. That's very, very important. Transparent with yourself. You're not going to tell the HS, look, I'm not vibing with you. Madaba. Don't do this kind of thing, okay? You just have to notice it. It's your internal compass. And then decide on how you want to let this person, like, hey, this if you want, you can say, oh, I'm noticing that I'm not able to connect with what you're saying. If you want to be absolutely honest, and if you can't connect with what an HS is saying, it just means that maybe there is something going on for you. Okay. Or refer them to someone. Or if you want to be like, okay, no, 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 I don't want to be so direct. Just say, my schedule is full. All right. Can I connect you with someone else? Or what you are, or what you just shared is not within the scope of my skills. But please understand, if either one of you end up going for therapy and your clinician says, not in the scope of skills, full calendar, it does not mean that they don't want to work with you, okay? It could be really very true. All right. Now, intake interview. Like Medini did say that, okay, they are both non-therapy sessions, right? Now, the truth is, an intake interview is where you do your detailed work. Okay, my intake sessions are usually hour and 20 minutes. Sometimes they go for hour and a half, and they have gone for hour and 40 as well. But I don't do it that long anymore because it's not fair to me, particularly. A person with a problem will keep talking, okay, because they have a problem, and that's okay. We're not going to judge them for talking at all, okay? However, you need to think about your mental health as well. When you sit there, I used to cut out all my breaks. I used to just, prolong things, and it's not healthy. That's the first thing. Don't do an unhealthy practice. I'm sharing mistakes that I had done and I'm still doing and I'm working on it because it's a very hardwired thing in me because I've been doing bad practice for so long. It's very difficult to change. Okay. Because you're seated for hours sometimes. When I have sessions where I can do body movement, that's fine. But sessions where I'm seated, it's really difficult on my body. Okay. Now, in an intake interview, you will have so many things that you will talk about, you will discuss, you'll go in depth. Sometimes, depending on how much information or how comfortable an HS is, okay, you might end up doing a little bit of therapy in that session, saying, oh, do you want to try this out? It can happen. Does that make sense? Is it clear to everybody? But for the
Yes.
most part, you don't end up working on much therapy in the first session, but it really depends because some people will just come and they'll just tell you everything super fast. I've had people who do this. They have these A4 sheets, they've written on both sides, back and front, back and front. They go like, okay, wait, I put down all my points. I'm going to tell you all my points now. Say, okay, go ahead. If you feel like there are times you want to ask me questions, you can. But I prefer if you don't interrupt me. Like, okay, fine. I'll be here. If I want to clarify, I'll clarify. They'll read. Okay. And there's some really sweet HS also. And I call them sweet because they're so concerned about my time. Okay. They go like, okay, so we've finished half an hour of our session. I have only another 50 minutes. I'm like, yeah, okay. So wait, I read you 2 pages now. Okay, we'll stop with those 2 pages. Next time I'll come, you give me your thoughts. Okay, what can I do for the problems I have on these 2 pages? So you'll get a variety of people. All right. There will be some who will continue talking and talking and talking and talking, and they won't give you a chance to. They'll ask you a question. So, doctor, what do you think? Ma'am, what do you think? Miss, what do you think? Rushma, what do you think? You're like, so can I clarify something before I share? Yeah, please. So ask a clarification point. They don't attend to the clarification, but when I was asking my point, a new memory or new problem came in. So like, yeah, so this happened, blah, 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 blah. They keep going. So when I get HS like this, a lot of the first 4-5 sessions are like intake interviews because they just have so much to unpack. Okay. Have you all found a distinction between discovery call and intake interviews? Okay.
Yes, it's clear.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. So, you know what I'm going to do, which is not on the agenda for today. We're going to do some role play. Okay. And we'll do role play. Don't worry. I will put you all in breakout rooms. You don't have to do it in the main room. You're going to do a role play for what you think a discovery call can look like. Okay. Now I'm going to put, I'm just going to put 2 on 2 so that you all have more time, but I'm just going to swap people. Okay. Sorry. Okay, y'all have been exchanged. You're just going to do a discovery call based on what I said. One of you is going to be HS, the other one is going to be what?
The therapist.
Yes, Hikma, wonderful. So that's what's going to happen, okay? And then you're going to swap. So we're going to do a 10-minute one. Okay, I'm going to give you a 10-minute role play and then you swap. All right. So 5 minutes, 11 minutes, 5 minutes each way, 1 minute for connection. Pick a very simple topic, okay, for the discovery call. After you do that, we'll come into the main room and then I will do a short demo of what a discovery call can look like. Okay. All right. Opening rooms. How did you feel about your first role play? Who'd like to share? Yeah, Razia, go ahead.
It was feeling a little bit nervous, like didn't know where to start. But meantime, it was good connecting.
Right. You know, oh, I just realized my video is switched off. Um, you know, you asked some really, really good questions. I really like your energy. They're very soft, gentle. You're also curious. You want
Yeah.
to know, right? And that's fine. It's good to be curious because if you retain curiosity, you're likely to ask questions that are more helpful. And now the only thing about curiosity, this is going to be TAW. Okay, so take note because I'm saying it out right now. And we're going to update the Excel sheet actually. Um, what kind of curiosity do you need? Curious because you want to know? Curious because of something that the HS said and information will help the situation. Okay, so that's what I want you all to state.
Can you repeat the question once again?
Yeah. Curious because you want to know, or curious because an HS shared something and you feel having the added information will help. Okay, Hikma. Clear? All right, beautiful. Okay, so now, Hikma, how was it for you?
It was okay, but I didn't have much questions to ask, and I didn't know what kind of questions I should ask because it was an initial call.
Right. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But you know what I liked about your call when I was there is you had a sense of professionalism, okay, and your warmth was like just there. Like you wanted to be warm, and you were like, okay, can we do it? Okay, and it's
I
okay.
wanted
It's
end it up so quickly.
okay. It's okay. It's okay and completely fine. It's all right if you didn't know what questions to ask. In fact, while you all were in the breakout room, I added an extra slide onto your presentation because I said, oops, maybe we should do this right now today. So, Senori, how is it for you? This was your first role play, huh? How are you going?
Yeah, so as the responder, I also struggled with what questions to ask. Like, I was struggling, like, is this, if I ask this question, this will go into like details and it will take a lot of time and all. Yeah, so,
Right. Okay.
and
But how did
I
you
didn't
feel?
know about the informed consent, so I got to know it. Like, we have to send it and get it
Right.
done.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I'm not going to ask you. Okay, because she's done this routine 10,000 times, I think. Okay, she's done this so many times. I'm not asking her. Um, but Senori, you're very soft. You're very soft, you're very gentle, and that's always a nice place to start, because even if you don't have the questions, but you create that softness and the warmth, which all of you have, a person will want to connect again. Whether they want to connect with you, I don't know. but they'll at least feel like, okay, there's a space where I can say something. Okay, there's a space I can say something. So let me bring up the slide that I just created, and there are a lot more thoughts that are running in my head, but I will elaborate on this. Now, how do you start? How do you start also depends on whether you receive this call or whether you are making the call. Okay, so if you receive the call, and if it's the first time a person is calling you, you want to always introduce your clinic and your name. Okay, this is how I do. Now remember that this is not a rule that I'm sharing with you. I am just sharing very innocently how I do it at my practice. There's nothing hidden here. This is what I've been doing for years. Okay, but just because I've been doing it for years doesn't always mean that it's the right thing, but this is how I do. Okay, you create your own thing, whatever you want, but these are points to consider. Okay, now if I am making the call, I give my name and I ask for the person. Okay, or sometimes what I do is, if I'm not really sure, I just give my name and I say, if they say, I'll hear for something. I'll hear for something. Whether there is a calmness in their voice, whether there is an eagerness in their voice, whether they go, okay, you. Then I give the clinic and I say, this is what happened. Because sometimes when I give the call, I don't know who picks up the phone on the other end. And I don't know if the person who is picking up is pro mental health or not. But the last thing I want to do is, whoever called me from that number, I don't want to cut out the possibility of them being able to connect or call back or get our service. When I say our service, I mean mental health services, okay? Not J.O.I.N Health. All right, is this clear? And then they go like, make a wrong number, kak. But then if I see 3 or 4 calls, and then I say, me calls hatara kavila illati 4 calls irukku idula. இல்ல அப்படி யாருமே இல்ல එහෙම කවුරුත් නෑ මෙතන. If they say that, then I say, හරි miss මගේ වැරදි. නැත්තම් හරි sir මගේ වැරදි. Sorry, cross connection වෙන්නේ නැති. And then I just leave it. Oh, and then sometimes I add a white lie. I say, hari. You know, today few wrong calls have come to my number, and I leave it at that. I leave it at that because I concern myself with the fact that if I say no, I am a psychologist, I'm Dr. Rushma, we are a mental health thing, somebody has called, blah, blah, blah. If I make it so obvious and clear, I really have no idea what the state in that household is. Right? I don't know if somebody is going to get beaten up for that. Right? I don't have a doubt. Once again, let me lower my hand. Oh, maybe I can't find the lower hand. Can you lower my hand, please? So, that's one of the things that you need to look at. Now, how do you start? That's one thing. Then after this, let me add that, okay? This is what do we do? What are the things you can ask? Now, let me tell you this. I'll give you a tip. Okay, and each of you are going to unmute and share with me. All right, okay, Senuri is already unmuted, so she can share first. Okay. If you call a friend, how do you talk to a friend, Senuri? What would you say first?
Like, hi, how are you? Like, can I speak for a minute? Are you free right now? Like that.
Okay. Razia, how do you do it? Thank you, Senuri.
Hi, how are you? And then start the conversation.
Okay. Great. Hikma, what about you?
Hi, how are you? Are you free? Can I talk to you now?
Perfect. Finished. Finished. Only thing that Razia would need to add is asking if they're available. If you're going to call someone, are you available? Finish. This is it. This is not a big something. Oh my God, it's a big call. No, no, no. Nothing at all. Now, when I receive calls, I make it a point, like before the call, even if I'm like jumping from a session into a call immediately, that has happened countless number of times. So I've perfected the art in my version. Okay, my version in my head. I always take a moment, I breathe in and I go like, okay, my mom is calling me or my dad's calling. And then I lift and then I answer, go, and I then just give all my love and all my warmth when I say hi and I know the name. So if it is Senuri or if it is Raziana, some HS might have messaged me before. So particularly when I work with the Islamic community as well, certain HS I say, hey, how are you? Certain HS I actually go with Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Then some people, when it's like totally like everything is, they message me and they do a Singlish or like a Tamil English thing. But if they don't say vanakkam, then I don't say vanakkam. I just say in Tamil, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? How are you? Or like if it is like a Sinhala speaking, sometimes I haven't had to do it a lot because people use Singlish a lot. I born. Okay. I just use iPhone. Okay, iPhone. I'm Rushma speaking. And blah 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 blah. And then I'll just tell them who I am first. You know, like okay. Then they know that they're talking to the right person, right? They know they're talking to the right person because sometimes I get calls where it's already scheduled. They know that they're talking to me. Medini and Hiranti and Anusha prior to this made it so clear whom they're going to be talking to. Still, they just will say, मैं रुश्मा मिस से the kata karane. Why Rushma miss? Dr. Rushma? Okay, so then I say yes. So which is why to circumvent that, I say who I am when I receive it. To say, it's me here. And then I ask them for their name, even though Medini has scheduled it. I've read the intake form. I ask for the name. And I ask if they have filled the form. Why do I do this? Because honestly, I don't want to be giving out names. I don't want to give out a name. I don't want to say, hey, am I speaking with Razia? You confirmed the appointment? No, I don't do that. What if there's a wrong number? So I take a step back so that like I'm doing everything. I mean, there are going to be like hundreds of Rushmas, Razias, Hikmas, Medinis, Senuris around the world. Right? But I am paranoid case about leaking information of names because some people will just feel like, oh no, they accidentally used my name. But I'm not saying that I've never made that mistake before. I have. Like once, let's say there was an HS name, I don't know, Medini and Maidini. Okay. So Maidani, let's say that Medini and Maidani. And I've messaged Maidani, Medini's message saying, hey Medini, how are you? But luckily there's no identifying information. And they go like, my name is not Medini, it's Maidani. And we're like, yeah, sorry about that. And there was one time where I had to say like, yeah, that was autocorrect when it wasn't autocorrect, it was me. Okay. I had to lie. But even then, it has happened to me in the past, which is why I take extra caution when I'm trying to reply messages. Because once that happened once, I was done. I said, I'm not going to do any more multitasking until I can do this with focus and no mistake. It takes time. You make mistakes. I've made the mistake already. I'm sharing it with you so that you don't need to. You don't need to learn from mistake. Okay? So that's one way of handling. Now, how can I help you today? Okay. This is not my favorite one. Okay. This is not my favorite one. Main reason being that sometimes they don't know how. Sometimes you might have someone who'd be like, what the F? Like, you can help me. How do you know you can help me? Okay, so then if it is your first call and if it is your first time, sometimes you can get a little bit anxious about, okay, can I really help? I don't know, I'm not sure about that. So I do ask them, is this, hey, you've taken the time to have this conversation. How would you like to go? Or what would you like to talk about? And leave it at that. Okay, this is what I do. Does that make sense? I'm just putting it out here, but please don't copy paste this. I mean, I want you to figure out your version of something that's a little bit more neutral. Now, how would you like to go? Some people may not understand what you mean by to go, so they can be like, oh, you don't want to talk to me. Okay, but you want to be really clear about, no, when I say how do you like to go is, I mean, how would you like to, work on it? How would you like to use the time that we have together? That's what I mean. That's fine. Okay, what questions to ask? Now, a lot of you said, I'm not sure what questions to ask. You don't really have to ask much. When you ask them this, what's happening above, this will just automatically come. I'm feeling really stressed. I think in one of the calls, it was, I feel overwhelmed, right? I think it was Hikmas and Razia's call. It was saying, I feel overwhelmed. So one question could be, okay, do you want to talk to me about the overwhelm? All right. Or what overwhelms you? Ask more about that. Now, one concern that Senuri had was like, oh, if I ask this question, it's going to take up too much time. What you want to do is ask the question that you need to ask. Don't decide how much time it's going to take because you don't know anything about the future. Some people might say, no, I don't want to talk about it. Can we talk about it in session? It's a bit too much for me. So give the room for the HS to decide. And by the way, we're just on discovery call, huh? But you can see how many layers there are to a discovery call. Okay. I am going to put in here, I want to amend this where I say ICC. I call it initial contact call. Okay. Now, you can say, I heard in some of the conversations about, oh, in one call, it said, I'm going to ask you questions. And in the swap role play, the person said, can I ask you a few questions about you? It's nice when you stick to, can I ask you a few questions? Would you like to share? Because we're giving them the authority to decide whether they want those questions asked or not. And I think Medini has had the experience of people saying, no, they don't want to share their name. They don't want to share the problem. They don't want to share anything. They just want an ICC schedule, right? And that's good. That's good because they're telling you what they want. And in order to do that, you probably ask, can I ask you this, or this? And they might have said, no. There might be some when you ask like, okay, I'm going to ask you questions. No, I don't want to answer your questions. Can I talk direct to the doctor? Can I talk direct to the psychologist? Fine. You get people like that. But create the space of, do I have permission to do this? Do I have permission to shoot out questions? Create that space by asking the word can. Okay? Okay. When do you book the next chat? What do you call it? Okay. Now this is very, very important terminology. All right. Oh, yeah. Am I stuck? I'm stuck, huh? Oh, okay. Hang on, just give me a moment till I figure this out for a second. Okay. So over here, when you try to book the next call, a lot of you said, are you free tomorrow? Are you free Monday? Are you free Tuesday at this time? Right? If you're doing it on your own, please first ask the HS, like what day and time works for you. Once you share that, I can tell you what's happening on my schedule. And if it coincides, then we can have a call. Okay, so that would be my tip. And also now you have to be clear. Now, if this is a discovery call, and if what you scheduled was your intake interview, my discovery calls are not paid, they're free. Okay? Some of you might choose to charge for a discovery call, which is fine. And usually a discovery call charge is a little bit less than the first session. So you need to be very clear. Is this your first session? Do you want to call it? Oh, we'll chat, we'll talk, we'll meet on this day. They'll come to meet you, and then you go like, okay, so it's gonna cost you whatever, 3,000-4,000 rupees. Huh? Well, I didn't sign up for that. Like, why do that? So you have to qualify those things as well. How do you qualify those things? You qualify those things by, I think, Senuri, you're the one who spoke about the informed consent.
Yes.
Yeah. So after this call, so now this is thing, okay? Be clear. Okay, paid. Sorry. Okay. Now, times and dates, same thing. Now, one thing, we'll come to informed consent in a little bit. Now, one thing is now Senuri's concern. If I ask, this question is going to take so much time. So what I usually do is I pre-frame the call. I ask them like, hey, because Medini schedules it, right? So because Medini schedules is one of the other questions that I do at the beginning. I'm like, hey, do you know what our conversation, is it clear to you what today's conversation is about? Just want to ensure. Then some of them say, today is the first session. And I think not too long ago, I even asked Medini, like, hey, Medini, are they clear on that this is not a session? She writes it very clearly. She says it very clearly, but some will just come and tell you this is the first session. Okay. And so sometimes I wonder, okay, did she forget to say it? Right? Did they misunderstand it? So there's so many questions. So I just want to clear my boxes. And be like, okay, this isn't the first session. Today is just, conversation for you to get to know me, for me to get to know you a little bit, and whether I can help you or not, and whether you actually do like to work with me. So our conversation is going to be about 15, 20 minutes. I tell them that. So in this time that we have, what would you like to talk about? All right. Then it's clear to the HS. We've got only 15, 20 minutes. What do I want to talk about? Then they will pick out crucial ones. And they'll say, actually, I have so much to tell you, but because we don't have time, I want to talk about this incident that happened last week. Okay, fine. Talk about the incident last week. Okay, sometimes if I've read the intake form before the discovery call, there's an intake form that I do. Okay, it's a very short intake. It's actually the intake for a discovery call. When I read that form, if I know that this person has other traumas, then I always tell them, since we have only about 20 minutes on our hand, would you kindly share? You can share anything, but can you ensure that what you share is not more than a 5 on 10 scale of emotion for you? Because I don't want to say, okay, bye, I got my next call, bye. You have your full 10 out of 10 emotional expression. And then I'm saying, bye, I got the other call. I don't want to do this to you. So can you just pick something that is sort of like something you can manage emotionally, but it's also relevant to why you're coming for a session? Does that make sense? That's a pre-frame. Okay. Then what happens? Finally, this is what happens. I tell them, please contact Medini for further details if you would like to work with me. That's it. And then they will call her. And what happens in the further details? So we're going to come to this. Okay, you know what? It is 8:20 right now. How are you guys feeling? Are you feeling ready for a break? Or do you feel like you can go another 15 minutes or 20 minutes and then take a break for about 10 minutes? What do you want to do? I feel like we've been seated for a long time. Okay, break, give me a B in chat. You'll get a 10-minute break. Get a B in
Yes,
chat.
I want to break.
You want a break? How about Razi and Senuri? Where are you at?
For me, it's fine. Doesn't matter. If you're giving break, okay. Not also.
Senuri, break?
Anything is fine, but let's go for a break.
So break it is. Not anything's fine. So now, okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break and we're going to come back at 8:31. Actually, no, by the time I finish explaining, 8:32. For the future, you have to decide. There is no anything is okay. To save time, decide. Break, no break. Got it? Majority votes win. So the person who loses out on it, I'm very sorry, but you have to deal with it. Okay, bye-bye. See you guys at 8:32. Hi, everyone. So everyone is here. AI is not here. Right? Okay. So, hi, Hikma. Hi,
Hi.
Radia.
Hi.
I'm also going to be just nibbling on some food. Okay. So now, your next task, I'm going to put it on the breakout room for you. Okay. And not the breakout room. Please, I wonder if you can see what I'm sharing on WhatsApp actually. This is your next one, huh? Is this clear? Do you have any questions at this point? No. So you're going to go back into the breakout room for 10 minutes. Okay. With this information that you have, I'll just put this up on screen here. Okay. Medini, would you be able to take a screenshot of this? Yeah. Okay. Take a screenshot and just put it in the poster group. So you're going to go back into your breakout room, give it 10 minutes, 5 minutes each way. All right. Now apply what you have learned and decide. If you're saying, you know, it's a phone call, so both of you can switch your videos off and do the call as well. It doesn't need to be on video. Okay. And then when the person unmutes and speaks, you can say, okay, I'm going to unmute and speak, meaning I'm calling you. After you've decided. So now you have a sense of it. Okay. Does it sound okay to everybody? Medini, is it on the poster group? Hello. Hi. How was that this time for you?
It was good, ma'am.
Okay, what was good?
I have a question I can ask you. I just want to clear something.
Yeah, ask the question.
Yeah.
If I can answer now, I will. If not, I'll take the shares and then come
Okay.
to. Okay, what's your question?
Like the pre-framing, should it be done first? Like, does the psychologist speak first and say, get few details, and then say, like, my assistant will contact you for the details?
Okay, good question, because this is what I noticed. This is a question I have for all of you. If you're starting out your practice and you do not have funding, would you have an assist or a front desk? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. How about for others?
No.
No. Okay. Yes, you probably won't have an assist. You won't have a front desk. You will be handling the calls. But what did I tell you this slide was? What I do.
Mm.
So you have to think for what you will do. Okay, so remember that. Take everything in context. When I only took an assist maybe 2-3 years ago, that's it. Even that, it was a few. Actually, initially it wasn't even the whole week or anything, right? And then later I thought, oh, okay, how do I work this out? Do I work with a graduate of psychology? Do I have an undergrad of psychology? I was trying to think, what would be the best thing? I wanted to have, I thought, okay, it would be best to work with a graduate. Then after that, I noticed, no, graduates have their own thing that they want to do. Undergrads are very curious. Okay. And I love undergraduate energy because they're so curious. They're willing to ask questions. They're willing to make suggestions, all of these things. And so I was like, okay. So with an undergrad, then I did my research. I found out, okay, how much is it going to cost? What is going to happen? What year, what degree, how much should I give? All of that. And then I made a decision. But until then, for like 6 years, 7 years, I did my workshops, my scheduling, everything on my own. Okay. So I would give them, because I heard in some calls, well, can I get my assistant to call you? And I was thinking, like, hang on, why this doing that? Okay. Why they doing that? And maybe some of you might have funding when you start, and that's great. I'll be so happy for you. I didn't have funding to employ anybody. Okay. I had support, but I couldn't employ anyone, and I'm not even employing. I am actually like intern, a position that is more of like an attaché position where there's an allowance. Medini doesn't get a salary, she gets an allowance. I'm not shy about hiding it, and I'm not even going to lie to you all about it. My aim is to be able to pay an allowance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now I want you to remember that, because you will get the question about how much does this session cost? How
Yes.
you're comfortable answering that question? Give me a show of hands. I'm comfortable. Raise your right hand.
I think we should share it.
No, are you comfortable talking about cost? That's my question. Not whether you think you should share or not. As a counselor.
No, I'm not.
Okay. How about the others? Okay, Razia is comfortable. Medini is comfortable. Senuri and Hikma aren't. I am very comfortable with money. I'm not comfortable with, like, oh, well, what should we do in this situation if this person says this? Median, and I think Hiranti knows, if somebody says, oh, I'm struggling with finances, my immediate reaction is, okay, free. This is what I was doing for 7 years, okay? That's why I have no one I can employ. So don't make this mistake. I used to do things like free. I used to say pay when you can. Don't worry about it. Come for session. They sit for session as long as they want. They leave. And at the end, I could barely make things, like it was only since last year. Actually, the year before, actually last year mainly. I'm so grateful to Hiranti who was here. She would be like, but why? She'd be like, but why? Let's just, I was like, well, yeah, actually, that is true. I don't have a very good business mind. I've got good ideas, but I don't know how to like do the thing for a business thing. Now I am much better. I think Medini would vouch for that. I always go back and forth. I'd be like, maybe no, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe yes. I can talk about money, but if someone says it's too much, then it's not easy for me. I feel like, oh, I should give it all free. Don't do this mistake. Don't. I'll tell you something. When I focused on charging people, all right? When I say no, when I had this rule that we apply, you have to pay 3 days before a session and settle it and finish it. Okay, it's easier for you as well. You can just focus on the thing. I did this rule mainly because I said people just cancel last minute. They do all these things. They say, I cannot tell you the number of times 3 years ago. No, but not 3 years. Before COVID. No, actually, after we opened up, after COVID, after we opened up. Other people telling me, oh, where's Mama, I'm nearby, I'm nearby, I'm nearby. Okay, I'm like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm at near your door. They never show up. Other people do this. And the thing is, okay, money is one thing. I could have slept. I could have read a book. I could have done something that I wanted to, maybe a handcraft or some craft thing. These are things that I enjoy. I could have, trained my dogs. I could have done something else. Or I could have scheduled even another session. Right? That's one thing. Then I realized that people are not committed to themselves. That was the biggest thing. So then I was like, no, strict rule, don't do this. And we do 100% cancellation. They're cancelled off if you book an hour and a half session. And if you cancel last minute, that is within 48 hours. If it's not an emergency or death or whatever, we retain the 1 hour and the other additional half an hour, the cost, we carry it forward to the next session. Very few cancellations. Many people are making the changes in their lives, in their own lives. Okay, because they are invested. And the next thing is, if you keep doing this free thing, the value of your service, not you as a person. They don't have anything against you. Okay, it's not a personal attack when they do these things. But the value of the service just goes down. They don't see it as important. It's like, oh, it's so disposable, whatever the heck, I don't care. Which means they are disposing themselves as well. I came up with the policy long time ago for my practice. I didn't enforce it because compassion made me foolish. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay.
Yes.
So if you're not comfortable talking about money, get comfy. You don't have to feel wrong about it. You don't have to feel bad about it. Like even when I do some workshops, there was a suicide prevention workshop. One of the delegates dropped out halfway. Okay, we supported the person. We did a lot for the person. Then she messaged me, ma'am. This was 2023 was last year. This was when I was doing a 2022 batch. Okay. They dropped out. They said, oh, and a couple of months later, they come back. Okay, on their own actually. I reached out. Some of them I reach out, they reply. Sometimes they don't reply. Hey, ma'am, I want to join again. So when are you doing the next batch? I'll come on day 3 or something. I said, what do you mean you'll come on day 3? This is like a 6-day thing, okay? Over a month. You need to come from the beginning, from day 1. Oh, does that mean I have to pay for the whole thing? Then I said, no, because there's a policy that we have. No, you don't pay for the whole thing. but you'll have to pay per day or you assist us. Done. Period. Full stop. Right? Then this person made their decision. They said, oh, okay, well, but why should I pay? They said no. Then after a week, they came and said, but why should I pay? I said, okay, look, there's extra admin that we do for you. You missed the opportunity of bulk admin that we were doing before. Okay. And from that, my aim was whoever does the admin, I want to give them a percentage of that and give it to the person who is doing the extra work. Does that make sense to all of you? So don't feel shy about it, because if somebody doesn't resonate with it and say, no, I don't want to come, eventually the person never came, by the way, which is fine. We don't judge them for it. That's their decision. We gave our logic. They asked us why, we gave the logic. Same way when you have something. Also, one more thing. Please know that you don't have to justify your pricing. I used to think that I needed to justify pricing. Okay. If someone says, oh my God, you're so expensive, I'd be like, yeah, oh, is it okay? What are you comfortable paying? Or back then, okay, I'd say, oh, what are you comfortable paying? No, but actually I do this, and this, and blah, 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 blah. These are all the things that we're doing. I was like, no, people will get a Bulgari, okay, or a Gucci, or a LV, or some fancy pants shoe in DSI or Bata. How often do they ask, Anime, be price ek very? I went to Shoe Kingdom. It's a lot cheaper, No, they just pick it up because they want it. Because it's worth. Got it? So your mindset should also be clear. I mean, of course, if you're starting out and you go, I'm charging you 10,000 an hour. Hell no, nobody's going to come to you. They'll be like, where's your experience? What can you do? Blah, 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 blah. There is a reasonable standard that you introduce yourself into the market. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. This is very important conversation because it's going to set the tone of how your attitude is when you approach things. Okay. So we're going to come to another thing. Hey, hello, what's this? Oh, okay, here. An informed consent. How many of you have heard of what an informed consent is? Okay. In your own words, tell me what an informed, except for Medini. Okay. It's okay, Medini, you can participate. You are welcome to do so. I want to ask you guys, what do you know about an informed consent?
Informed consent is where you get the permission, like you get the approval from the HS regarding how the process will work, how the counseling session will work, and you get the approval from them.
Okay.
Where they
Sorry, go ahead, Razia.
where they have to maintain confidentiality, and where they will share all there'll be transparency, all those things. So that is where you get a consent from them to do the process, to start the process.
Okay. Great. Hikma, Senuri, do you all want to share?
I agree with what Razia said.
Yeah.
And maybe what information does the HS need to give us?
Such as?
And then the like name, age, and like not lying about the medical conditions, things like that, I guess.
Okay. Razia? Sorry, Hikma?
Yeah, I go with Razia and Senuri. It's the same.
It's the same. Okay. So in an informed consent, it's not only about that. Okay. In an informed consent, what is informed consent? Just look at the words. You're keeping yourself informed and you're consenting to something. It's like if you're choosing a university, you do all your research to keep yourself informed about this university. Then you apply and you get in, great. They give you your, this is what's going to happen, this is how it is, blah, 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 blah. This is how payments, this is the visa, all this long story. You know it, you are kept informed as the user. So an informed consent also will have, you know what, instead of me telling you, I'm going to put all four of you in one breakout room and you are going to discuss, maybe Medini, you can moderate it. You all will discuss what is the content. What are you going to put into an informed consent specifically? Okay, I give you 5 minutes from now. I'll close the room in 5 minutes. Go ahead. So how was that? Did you all come up with a few things?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. Just share a few things that came up for you.
Introduce yourself
Mm-hmm.
regarding your experience, about you to the HS. Who are you? And you should mention the right to withdrawal at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss about the number of sessions, payment, location details regarding that. And also we have to mention that whatever you have to be transparent, you have to maintain transparency and not lie in information that you're speaking. And then if there is any harm or any abuse or anything related to that is taking place, we need to have their permission to notify the authorities.
Okay. Anyone else want to add on anything?
Yeah, I have a
And
question, ma'am.
Go ahead, Senori. Sorry. Oh, 1 second, Hikma. You have a question, is it? We'll just go with
Yes.
Senori's share, then we'll come to your question.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, sure.
Go ahead, Senori.
I wanted to add that we should mention that we'll keep their information confidential. And yeah, I think.
Great one, Senori. Yeah, Hikma, go ahead. What's your
Yeah,
question?
so as Razia mentioned about the abuse, self-harm, or any other harm, so should we get the consent of the HS to report to the relevant authorities?
Okay. So, good question. Huh? You don't get the consent per se. What you say is, I am going to inform this person or this person. You choose which one. You just give them a choice. They pick from. Because it's out of your hands, you need to do your due diligence. Because if you're seated here and you have an HS somewhere, like many, one of my biggest ones, which I've mentioned in the previous batch as well, is I had to work with someone in America. Okay. He said, I'm going to kill myself. I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. I've got this in my hand. And, before I could do anything, offline, couldn't get in touch with him. Okay. So what did I have to do? I was lucky because I had somebody who was based in the state next to him. Okay. And that person, I said, look, I know these details. They said, just give me the phone number. I'll be able to get that. They called the cops in that country, his state, near his place, and they got the cops to come in. After we mobilized everything and did everything, he was so mad. He's like, you don't know me, the cops are, I'm a brown person in this country, went on a tangent. There are about 6 cops come in, and all they do is they come in to check in on if the person was okay. They didn't come to arrest him, they didn't come to harm him. They just like, are you okay? He was also surprised because he expected them to do whatever he thought they were going to do because of the trauma he's experienced. Okay. Not from cops, but just in his past. So with my HS, usually I say, you know what, I'll be telling either your mom or your dad, or do you want me to talk to? I always ask them if they have another person that they trust, whom you can take the phone number down and keep. In some cases, they really don't have. It's just the family. So there's no one else. They're not going to give you numbers, right? And you're really stuck at that point as well. But what I want you all to remember is that even though you're stuck, and if they choose to hang themselves, harm themselves, or hurt themselves, it's not on your hands. Please don't take that burden onto you. Because if you did everything, you have nothing to feel bad about. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Yeah, you might feel bad that the person died, but you don't have to feel guilty about it. That's why you have to do your due diligence. Because then your conscience is clear. You know you did 100% to help. Okay? Did I answer your question, Hikma?
Yeah. So if a girl or someone is being abused and she doesn't want it to say it, let's say it to their parents either, she's so scared that they'll be mad or something. So how do we handle such a situation? Like, do we say it to the parents or something, or
Adult abuse, nothing you can do. You can't do anything. That's the problem. Because they just want somebody to just listen to it. Once you listen, once you get into working with that person, all right, eventually when they get to unload and they hear their own story and how miserable it might be, they themselves might say, you know what, I'm going to go report this. You don't have to save them. We are not there to save people. We're just there to hold space to help people save themselves. They need to take the action. Because oftentimes people think that, oh, I'm a counselor, I'm a psychologist, I'm going to save this person, I'm going to help them with their borderline or bipolar or anxiety or ADHD. Like, I'm going to be the one. No, you're not a savior. Okay. You're just a person who's been trained to listen, hold a safe space, try to be non judgmental to the best of your abilities, and help them to get insight into their own problem where they'll start figuring out solutions for themselves. Sometimes you will also, nudge and give a solution or share something. It's really up to them to go for it. Okay? So good question is a tricky one. You want to do something and help them, right? Okay. So now let's get back to this. What should we include? Why should we introduce ourselves in the process, such as talking about the informed consent? So the process of informed consent, I actually tell the HS during the discovery call itself, the ICC. I do that. I say, it's got a little bit more about me, what I can do, what I can't do, your rights as someone in case of self-harm, what is going to happen if you're harming yourself. It has the payments and cancellations in it, rescheduling, all that information is in that document. I highlight those few clutch things. Okay? Why do we share they don't know who we are, right? It's not bragging or boasting. They really don't know who we are. In Sri Lanka also particularly, or in any other country, they don't know us, right? So at least we're giving them, okay, a little bit of faith, like, okay, this person comes with this background and this training. Let me try. So they might come with a little bit more of hope and an open heart. Does that make sense? Okay. Who are you? Who you are. I don't know what English this is. So who you are is how many of you are in your undergrad and how many of you finished your undergrad in psychology?
I'm about to finish, like 2 months to go. I'm in my final year.
Excellent. Okay. You're about to finish. Senuri is also, I think, undergrad, right?
Undergrad, yeah.
I
Razia,
finished.
you finished. Okay. So Senuri and Hikma will go as co-technicians. Okay, counseling technicians, co-techs. Razia will go as an associate psychologist because she's completed the degree. Y'all are in a counseling technician position, like you're a counselor, but not a counselor yet, but you're in a technician state. Okay? But that doesn't mean that you're useless or you're not good. Okay, just because there's this co-tech, associate psychologist, and psychologist kind of thing, it doesn't mean that the value that you have to offer is any less. It just gives a person an idea of like, okay, this is where they are in their education, but the skill set could be different. Okay, maybe after you take all of these things, you guys might be way better than me with experience, maybe dealing with bipolar people. Person's diagnosed with that. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, what this is your TAW. I think it's on the Excel sheet as well. What can you do as a co-tech? What can you do as an associate psychologist? What you cannot do as well. These are things you have to answer for yourselves. Okay. Next slide. Here. Now, these are a list of things you need to have in your informed consent. Nature and purpose of counseling, counselor's qualifications, credentials, confidentiality, risk, counseling methods and techniques, duration and frequency of sessions. This I want to answer. Two things I want to answer. You are likely not going to be able to tell exactly how many sessions it will take. It'll be hard to say because someone who will come to that in the next thing. So put a point down that I have to come back to this thing, why we cannot say exactly how many sessions it's going to take. Put a point in that and ask me. That's one. The next thing is you all spoke about lying. Don't lie. You're not going to tell this to the HS because they can lie if they want to. Lying has a function. It's probably protecting them. It's protecting them from something maybe that they're afraid of, something that they're embarrassed about, something that they're ashamed of. So if they choose to lie, okay, they lie. But what we do try to tell them is, I can work with the information that you give me. That's it. We don't put that pressure. They're not coming to school. They're not coming to some sort of army camp. Okay? Now, at the end of the 6 months, I want you all to develop your own informed consent. This one over here, it's a link, you tap it and it will take you to a document, okay? Which is a sample informed consent for you. Okay, moving on. What are the rights of the client is another thing that you need to work on. So you have 4 TAWs today. One was I added in the middle, okay? At the beginning, the first one I added, and then these are the other 3. What options, okay, so let's discuss this, okay? What options does the client have in terms of starting the session? What I mean is, if you go into a session, okay, not a discovery call, how do we start? Can you ask questions? Does the client have freedom to start wherever they want and they're comfortable with? Can they talk about topics that are not related to the challenge they're facing? It's my question to you guys. Have a think and share with me. What do you all think? How do you start a session? You done informed consent, done payment, done everything. Now they're coming into their session.
We give a certain amount of time for them to freely talk about what they want, right?
No, I'm asking you. You're asking me back. Tell me what do you think?
Maybe from my point of view, I will give a certain amount of time and tell them to share whatever they want. Then I will start from what I want to have a format to start.
Okay. Thank you, Razia. Anyone else? Senuri or Hikma?
Like at once I want to ask like what do you want to talk about? I'll just say hi, come have a seat. And then maybe how did you come here? Like basic questions, what's the questions I want to ask? With whom? Kind of things.
Great work, Hikma. Senuri, what about you?
Yeah, I'll also have like a little conversation about like as Hikma said, and then if the client is not like opening up about it, I'll
Mhm.
ask a few questions to like get the HS started about like to talk about it.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
like I will like let him or her to initiate the conversation, but
Mhm.
if it's not, I'll ask some questions.
Okay, good. So we can use a mix of all the approaches. Okay. What I would suggest is though, you don't need to keep a timestamp on things. Let it be, let them come, let them talk, build rapport. That's the most important thing. Because not from what I know, not many clinicians do. I do a very basic intake form at for the discovery call, right? But even though it's basic, it has very many clutch things. You're going directly into what they want. Okay. There are more detailed intake forms. So you do that intake in your conversation. But you already gave an intake form. So I have some information to work with. So I can just wait. Because maybe by the time they got their appointment scheduled and when they filled their intake form and did the discovery call, maybe there's a huge gap, things changed. Then what happens? Like I think somebody filled a form last year, November, and they booked the session this year, March or something. Or March or April, I can't remember. So then I asked this person, hey, how are you? I would really love your help to jog my memory. This is what I remember we spoke of. Is that still the same today? Or is there something different? Right? So you want to like just not have a format or a formula. This is my advice. Okay, but I will give you all a separate one how to do an intake interview. There's a whole thing that you do. It's really big. Depending on the HS, you can take that. Okay, and yes, the HS has total freedom to start wherever they want. Can they talk about topics not related to what their problem is? Yes or no? Give me a Y in chat for yes and give me an N in chat for no. Yes, no. Like if someone has severe anxiety or super depressed, yeah, absolutely. They can talk about things like, okay, they say they have severe depression, but they come and talk about their dog or about some auntie sari or some uncle shoe or belt or whatever. It's perfectly fine. Okay? It's perfectly fine because there's no rule. Like, who are we to decide what is needed? Okay? Are you? Okay. Now, why is it important to read the rights of the client? I think this got missed. Okay, anyway. Rights of the client. I put client here because some of you may not be familiar with it, but I'm going to start changing my future slides into HS, okay? What kind of environment are we aiming to set up for therapy? Why is it important to read the rights of the client? Maybe you can take a screenshot of this. I'm just going to pop you into the breakout room for 5 minutes. You put in the poster group. Actually, not 5. I'll give you all 3 minutes. So we're going to make it snappy, okay? Done? Okay, open rooms. Go ahead. Okay, so let's have Sanuri. Maybe you can share what it is that you guys came up with. If it's okay, just one member of the group, okay? Just in the interest of time, I'm asking Sanuri to share. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is important to read the rights of the client as we discussed because our aim is to like make the HS like open up about the things. So the assuring that we respect the HS and I think it will make the HS more comfortable to share. And about the environment, it should be like calm and like not triggering sort of, but it should not be like distracting also, like too much of things like that to discuss that.
Mm.
And about the age will help us to decide the procedure, because not every method will work for everyone. And if it's a child or someone, it will give us hint about the topics that we need to explain or discuss more about.
Mm.
And also, Hikma about the point that we should consider the cultural context as well to understand. And I thought that getting some family information will also be important, like, for example, children and all, to understand the situation better.
Mm. Nice. Is there anything else that needs to be added on to what Senuri said?
The age matters because the freedom of choice. If it's a child and an adult, then there is a freedom of choice. So the
Sorry,
age,
what do you mean?
like for example, if it's a child, then we can share certain details with their family. But if it's an adult, then it's their freedom to let us know whether should it be shared or not.
Mm. This is a good point. Now I want to ask y'all, ask Razia, when you say if it's a child, we can share with parents some information. What do you mean?
For example, if they are self-harming,
Hmm.
then you need to inform the parent.
If the child is okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, if the child is okay with that.
If the child wants to inform another trusted adult, you can do that as well. You know, it doesn't always have to be the parents.
Yeah.
Adults, same thing. You still have to keep someone informed if self harm is happening with adults, okay? But you just say this or this. What else, Razia, did you mean?
Sometimes when we do therapy, like if you give like homeworks, maybe they'll not like to do it. Maybe
Mhm.
they'll not like to do that. Uh, for example, if he's having OCD, we give some homework. They don't
Mhm.
want to do it.
Mhm.
So, as an adult, they will have the freedom to let us know that they don't want to do it. But
Mhm.
sometimes a child will not know to express.
So, what about that? Do you mean like you can share with the parents?
Uh, we can keep them informed.
Mm,
We can get the parent to assist the child. But for an adult, it's their freedom to do it or not. You can't make them do it.
okay. So, even with children, it's the same thing. You can't make a child do it. Just because they're younger doesn't mean that they don't have freedom of choice, that they can't decide for themselves. They can. Actually, sometimes kids are way better than adults. They're less confused. They know what they want, they know what they don't want. They know what they like, they know what they don't like. They know which person they hate and which person really, really love. Okay? Adults will have the confusion. Ah, then now if I did this, then that will happen. And if I don't do this, then there's a whole rigmarole that goes on with adults, right? But however, the rule is the same. For both, you don't share unless they're okay with sharing. Now, when I work with a child, I say, sometimes parents are going to ask us questions. What am I allowed to talk to them about? What can I share with them? Are you okay with me sharing this, and this? I'm okay with the first two things, but not the fourth one. Okay, fine. We'll share the fourth one when ready. No, I never want to share the fourth one. Okay, fine. Then we'll never share it with your parents. As long as there's no self harm involved over there, I can always say, okay. Even activities, if they don't do it, actually, unless the child has maybe a special learning difficulty or there have been some sort of other neurodevelopmental disorder, particularly to do with maybe IQ or ASD or something like that, they can all express what they like very clearly. Even children with ASD, with lowered IQ, they can still tell you, I don't like this. They will still push things away, saying, "Well," all right, it depends on what kind of child, what diagnosis. So you're not going to share everything. If it's actually someone with lowered IQ, of course you will need the assistance of parents. Down syndrome, not every child with Down syndrome will need that support. Some children will need it. Okay, this is clear for everyone? All right. So now what I do want to share with you, so the environment we are trying to create is an environment of empowerment and autonomy. Okay, and of course, what Senuri said is very true. You want it to be calm, not triggering. The thing is, not triggering, we wouldn't know whether our environment is triggering or not until we talk it. But we're always doing our best to cater calm environments. All right. So don't put it on you to be like, I should have an environment that doesn't trigger the edges. If they get triggered, okay, that's their problem. They come. Let's work on it. Let's talk about it. You don't have to feel bad about like, oh my God, shit. I did something wrong. Yeah, I mean, you will momentarily feel bad, but you don't have to carry it with you. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. We're coming to my favorite slide. Oh, wait, is this the one? Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so with the age, there's one thing that I like to know why someone's age, what a person's age is, because if you've passed that age, okay, like schooling or something like that, or going to university or something like that. And when I say age, I'm not saying everybody goes to uni and get educated or this thing at the same age. Okay. However, for the most part, it'll give you an idea of like, I'm working with a 15-year-old. What was it like when I was 15? What are the things that I went through? So you'll just bring that to your surface so that you remember what it's like to be 15 for a little bit. Of course, you all are going to have different personalities. Of course, you're going to have different background, different problem. But as a 15-year-old, how did you manage sadness? What their tough points? So it gives you some context of relatability. It doesn't mean you need to go through the exact same experience. Okay. Are we expected to connect on almost every similar situation that elicited the same emotion to the client? If yes or no, why? So are you expected to connect to the emotion? Let me say, like I asked scenario, how did that make you feel? She says sad. When she says sad, are you supposed to also connect to the sadness?
No.
I think it's okay. It's better to be empathetic. But like if you are unable to, I think like not faking things. Sometimes the HS might think that we are not like understanding and we are just lying. It can like harm the trust. So I think it's okay to be empathetic and genuine.
Absolutely. And yeah, no, you don't always need to. I mean, some days when you go into session, you're just going to be so exhausted, you're not going to be able to connect. You have to notice that. And then you need to take a step back. And if you need to take a longer break and say, I'm so sorry, but we're going to start 5-10 minutes later, please just give me a moment, go out, do whatever you need to do to just say, okay, you're tired, but come into the moment. Having the age also helps you with research. Okay, research about your practice and the HS that you have, and this kind of research, right? The good news is it's not always about, well, I'm going to go to university and doctorate and blah, 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 but you can actually write an article with the information that you have. Okay, which can end up being publishable. Does that make sense? And yeah, like all of you have already said, it helps us identify if they are minor or not. This task, we're going to skip it for today. And we're going to go into this very quickly. We have 14 minutes. Good. Now, what is active listening? Active listening is intentionally paying attention and focus to whom you are listening and talking to. That means you are not getting ready to give your reply. Okay, like for example, let's say your HS said, oh, I heard that you should never drink water while standing because the water will go straight to the bottom of your feet. So I never drink water while standing. Okay. Because directly the water hits the foot. Biologically, scientifically, you know this is not true. Okay, there's zero evidence to prove that, right? That you drink and potassium goes to your foot. You're not going to be ready to be like, oh God, I got to correct them right now. Well, actually, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. No need. Listen, focus. Why is this person saying that? There's going to be a reason. Wait for the whole story. Okay. Now, why are we intentionally paying full attention and focus to the H's? What are we trying to do? We're doing active listening because of what? Maybe you remember the answer? Don't give the answer. No.
Maybe to summarize and paraphrase.
Why are we doing that?
Get the information.
Why are we doing it?
Do the analysis.
Okay. All right. That is one kind of answer. Why are we actively listening? You paraphrase, you summarize, analyze, whatever, all of that. But why? At the end, what are we trying to achieve?
To reassure, maybe.
Okay. Any more answers? Now, let me put it this way. When you talk to someone, you tell someone you have a problem. Have you all each had your own problems in your life? Okay. Now, when you figure like, okay, I'm going to talk to this person, maybe someone you trust. When you go and talk to them, what do you want from them?
I think it's validate.
What?
Validate. You want to feel heard, yeah. You want to feel heard, you want to feel validated. Right? So we do active listening so we can feel, so we can validate them. How do you validate? Different ways, through summarizing, through paraphrasing, through saying, analyzing by saying, you mentioned this, and this. I wonder if it is this. So they feel heard. Why do we want them to feel heard? Why do we want to validate them?
Because they'll feel relaxed.
Okay. What else?
It might make them to work with it, like understand that it's there. Sometimes they might be thinking that it's wrong to feel these things and it's not normal and all. So when we validate them, they understand that it's like natural and it's real, so they can work on them.
Yeah. So when you
Comfortable, right?
sorry,
Comfortable.
comfortable. So when you do validation, the person will also start to feel accepted. They'll start to feel understood, right? And then when that happens, so much change would happen. Okay. We engage in active listening, like you already said, so that we can summarize, reflect, paraphrase, all of that what the speaker has said so that they feel validated. Right? I've put the blanks here for a reason. Okay. But it's the same answer, it's validation. So once you validate, does it mean that we should agree with everything that the HS is saying? Does validation mean that we agree with everything that they have to say?
No.
No,
No.
No, you don't. But you have to accept everything that they are saying.
we shouldn't judge.
Okay, you shouldn't judge, which means what?
Like, we have to give them the freedom to share what they want to without instantly judging them.
Hmm. So now the question is this for all of y'all, okay? This is an additional thought project for you. What is the difference between acceptance and agreement? All right?
Acceptance means, did you tell to share?
You can share, but I just gave it as a thought project. Just think
Ah,
about
okay.
it. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of active listening? Helps you to actually active listening more than it helps the HS. Yes, validation is very important. It will help you. When you're really listening to them, you will end up storing the information about their life and their story in a meaningful manner, which means that when you can recall, and then you will have sessions. I cannot tell you the number of sessions I have had where my HS says, wow, I told that to you 6 months ago. You actually were listening to me. You care about my story. You remember it. I say, yeah, of course. And this is actually when there was a time I was trialing something out. I did not take, I hardly took notes. Okay, I barely took notes. Some key points, I would have like 5 key points on a page, just a random page. Every HS, all like it's just words. Okay, and I would have had 5 sessions or 6 sessions on that day. But I remember almost to, I would say 98% accuracy, the person's story. Which person's what story, and I used to remember to the point of the date that they mentioned and the year. Okay. When you actively listen, there's so much information you're going to remember, and it will be really amazing when you have an HS and they go like, oh my God, you actually remember it. Okay. Helps with formulation, also helps with summarizing and paraphrasing. Okay. What else does active listening help with? You're going to get these slides and you can just write it down for yourself. Okay. Now, when it comes to the side of the HS, it makes them feel validated, like you already said, makes them feel comfortable that they can open up, help iron out the balled up story. That small, there's that meme with you've got a therapist in one chair and you got an HS in another chair. And the HS's mind, it's like a whole ball of different colored thread. And then you speak to this person and it just starts all getting into their own respective colors. So that happens. Okay. Makes them also feel like their story is important and that it matters. Okay. So these are other things. What else does active listening help with? So you need to answer that for yourself in your own time. Now, questioning. Why is this a counseling skill? Why is questioning a counseling skill? What is counseling?
Like, questioning is important to get the right details, right
Mm-hmm.
information.
Why is it a counseling skill?
Because everyone can question, but it should be the right way to ask.
Okay. Why is this a skill though? Why is it an important counseling skill?
Because through questioning, we can help the HS to open up more with the correct questions, and that can help them to unfold their emotions and all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
And we
Yes.
can like highlight and validate the things through questioning. Like when they are saying something and we ask questions, they understand that we are really concerned about what they are saying. Like we are
Absolutely.
digging up to what they are saying with questions.
Yeah. So what is counseling? At the core, counseling is a form of a part of therapy that creates a safe space, right? You do a lot of listening, you do a lot of non-judgment, you do a lot of, believing the best of your HS. So when you ask your questions, like Senori said, it brings an element of validation actually, right? And then when they feel validated, like, oh, they're asking me more about my problem. They really want to know. They're clarifying information about my problem. Why do they care so much? Does that make sense? So it becomes a counseling, important counseling skill for such reasons. Okay. Now, we're going to share this slide deck with you. You'll see that open-ended. When can we use this? What are all the WH that I put down over there? Okay. Close-ended questions. When can we use this as well? We have 4 more slides to go, but I'm not going to get into, actually, no, we have only 1 more slide to go. Hey, hello, what happened over here? Yeah, okay, correct. So just give me 5 minutes because I put that 5 minute extra break because I had to deal with something. So just give me 5 minutes and we'll be done. We're actually at the end. So note taking. What are the factors that need to be taken into consideration when taking notes for the session? One important thing is you want to tell your HS, okay, I'm going to be taking down notes. Is that okay with you? All right. When I'm online, and I always tell them like, oh, if I'm looking away, I'm actually paying attention. I'm just taking down a note. I always tell them that because sometimes when they share very important things, and then online, sometimes I'm looking at the HS screen. Recently, actually, one of my HS was like a new HS told me, Rushma, I wanted to make a note. You told me to give you feedback. I said, yeah, tell me. I said, when you're looking at me, it feels like you're not looking at me. Where are you looking? Okay, then I said, oh, I'm actually looking at your face. So they preferred if I try to look directly at the camera like this. Can you see me looking at you right now? But I can't see you nod when I do that. And then sometimes when I'm typing notes, I have Zoom on this side and I have my WhatsApp on this side. So I type directly into the HS chat and I send the HS my notes. I can just type it and I send it. This is what I understood from the session, all of these things while it's happening. Okay. So you have to keep them informed. If not, they can feel like you're ignoring them, you're not paying attention to them. And sometimes in person, I tell the HS, even though they can see me write notes, I tell them, you know what? If you're not comfortable with this, just let me know and I will totally stop taking notes and I'll just put a summary in, send it to you, and you can tell me if I've understood your summary well or not. Does that make sense? Okay. Ask them if they're comfortable with you taking notes on a phone or a laptop or whatever device you're using, including paper or pen. So the mode, I ask my HS, are you okay with me typing on my notes on my phone? I'm sending it on WhatsApp to you. If they say yes, then I go ahead. If they are not comfortable, then ensure that you have explicit permission to audio video record the sessions. Some of them will be very comfortable. Some of them will be like, no, they don't want the audio also. They don't want you to write notes. They just want you to look at them and listen. Okay, and sometimes you just got to do it. Okay, don't be in the fear of that you're going to be caught for something, or like if you go with that attitude, you will struggle. Okay, TAWs, 5 piece formulation. We've already done this. I want to ask you to get into your mini group and you're going to discuss in the mini group before Saturday what you think these 5 P's are. You're also going to do this on your own. You do it on your own and then you can share it on your mini group, okay? This is, remember that mini group is only for your workshop activities. Please don't put your workshop activities on the main group. Okay, the one that says in training, don't put it there. That one is just going to be like, hey, have you come to class, blah, blah, blah. This is the link. That's the group for that. Very logistics. The mini group is going to be a group for course-based interaction, your task-based interaction, okay? So examples of how you can engage in active listening. And I'll give you a clue. You see this activity that we didn't do today? What are the different ways in which you can do active listening? So this is a clue. All right. 3 to 4 examples of open-ended and closed-ended questions. 4 open-ended, 4 closed. And congratulations, you are done with day 1. How is everybody feeling? Intense, sleepy, tired, ready to go to bed? For those in Sri Lanka. How's everybody doing?
It was amazing, interesting. I didn't feel sleepy at all.
That is good news. That is great news. How are Senuri and Hikma doing?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and like I marked some things that I want to read more on. So yeah, I'm waiting.
That's nice. You can always share what stood out to you that you want to read more on. Maybe your colleagues didn't think about it and it would help them also. If you all are comfortable.
Uh,
Okay, Hikma, how are you going?
It was great. I got to learn a lot. And also I'm a bit tired, but
Yeah,
As-
it's natural. It's a very
it was a
exhausting thing.
very long session for 3 hours continuous.
Absolutely. Because the previous batches I did 2.5 hours, but I realized no, I'm just going to do 3 hours. So sometimes we might finish in 2.5, sometimes we'll go up to 3. But I'm keeping that window so that you all are saving 3 hours. Okay, that's one. The next thing is hopefully from the next few these things, we are going to do a little bit more body movement. Okay, and I am when I ask you to stand up and move your bodies, you have to do it. Okay, you're not going to go, sorry, I got video issues. I'll fix my internet and come back. Okay, no. All these excuses don't need unless you really have an internet issue. Okay? Show up, stand up, move your body. You'll feel a lot more energized. But it is 10 o'clock, 10:05. We're done in 3 hours. We've covered everything. We did a lot of extra work as well. Today was really intense because I added an extra layer that I did not plan to. Okay? Have a good one then. I shall see you on Saturday.
Okay, ma'am. Take care.
Take
Okay,
care.
ma'am. Bye. Take care. Good night.
Good night.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you.